Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Tutoring with Sheryl podcast. I am so glad that you have found us here. We are talking all about the idea of hosting a homework club. And the question is this a brilliant idea or is this a business challenge? Now, I am not an expert on homework clubs. Okay, I'm just not. But I did consider doing one time. And this is something that I see a lot of people have interest in. And I thought this would be a perfect time to talk to you about some things to consider if you're thinking about having one, because I really do think that they are a brilliant idea, but I think they can pose some challenges. And so I'm going to be sharing both sides of the coin here on whether or not this could be a brilliant idea or just something that you're going to say, that's not for me, because my goal is to help give you confidence in opening up your own practice. And if you have a practice and you're thinking, oh gosh, I want to grow it, this actually could be a great way to get kids into one-to-one tutoring or small group tutoring. So again, I want to talk to you about business logistics, student success, parent expectations, and how you're going to deliver this, okay? So a homework club sounds super simple, but there's actually some really important pieces to consider before you open the doors on this, okay? So the very first thing that I want to talk to you about is if this is going to be a drop-in method or an office hours method, because I have heard people mull these ideas around like, oh, I'm a tutor and I'm just going to set my tutor availability and then students just pop in, where families are purchasing access to you and the students attend as needed. Now, the pros to this is that it's very flexible. And for parents, you should be offering this at a lower cost, and you can support more than one student at a time. So if you're like, oh, I really want to support more than one student at a time, this would be a really good option for you. But I think the challenge with this is that it's hard to predict this attendance. Like, are they going to show up or not show up? Because if they don't have homework, are they just not showing? And some students may need more support than others. Okay, so we need to really, really think about that. And I will give you I'll go into that a little bit deeper in this conversation. Okay, now another thing that you could do is, instead of having this I'm just going to be available idea, maybe you want to actually schedule homework group. And the students attend on a specific day at a specific time. You're working with a smaller group and you're providing more structure. So it becomes more predictable for you, because you say, well, I'm only available on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings from this time. You'll need to show up then. It's not like, well, I'll just post when I'm available and you pop in. Again, the structure I think is really going to help sell it. It's probably going to be easier to plan if you know the days and the times, and you're probably going to have better student accountability, because then the students aren't going to say, well, is Sheryl available today? I don't know. Let's go check her schedule. And when you have to do that, there's less of an accountability for both of you, because you can say, I'm too busy. I'm not going to do that today. Okay. So it's going to be really important that if you commit to this, you're actually going to commit to this. Now, there's some business questions that you need to consider, okay? And the first thing that I think that you need to consider is your pricing. So if you are a private tutor and if you are currently offering tutoring, somewhere around $70 an hour for your specialty, homework should generally cost less, okay? Because in my opinion, if you're just working on their homework, you're answering questions. You're not like taking them from point A to point B. You're just, here's what I brought tonight. This is what I'm going to work on. So the other thing is that the student is sharing their time with you with other people. Okay, so your support is broader. It's not this really narrowed focus. You don't know what they're bringing. You're just willing to help with whatever. And also, it's going to be very difficult to provide instruction that's individualized, because you're going to have a group of people and it's like you're the superhero of the classroom, like you are in a regular classroom. You show up, you answer this question, then you go here, and then you go there. And so your time is really limited with each one of the students that you're supporting. Okay, so I really do not think that you can price this on your $70 an hour or whatever you happen to be charging. So let's look at some possible pricing models, okay? If you're online, like I am, I'm an online tutor, and I say, oh, I'm just going to have office hours. And if you show up, I'm going to charge you. You could probably charge $20 to $30 per student, because if you're saying it's a small group and anybody can come, I don't think you can really charge more than $30, because they might only get 2 questions answered during that time, depending on how many children you have. Again, it's got to be a small group, right? If you specifically say, I am only available for 3 to 5 students, then I think you can bump it up to $25 to $40 an hour per student. So, and this is per student, okay? But then again, remember that if you only have one kid show up for that hour, then you're only making the $20 to $40 that you set that price point at. A way to work around that might be to say that you're going to have a monthly membership, and during the month you have availability to me for this number of hours, and so you price it between $100 or $200 per month, and when you use up the hours, that's it. Or you call it a homework club, and you're meeting 2 times a week, and it's $150 to $250 a month. You're always going to be there. The kid maybe doesn't show up there. They pay in advance. Keep that in mind, that they should be, for a membership or for a club, you collect in advance. And then if they don't show up and they don't use it, it's just like a membership to a gym. I offered it. Maybe you didn't walk in the doors, but you still collected your money. Then I think it's a good thing. So, for an example, if you had 4 students attending your monthly membership or your homework club at $25 an hour, and let's say you're charging by the hour, that's $100 per hour. But again, you're going to have to get creative on what that looks like. I'm just showing you ideas. I'm not giving you the answer. I'm just like, here, I'm the information person, and you can do with it what you want. And as a matter of fact, if you do this, I want you to comment and tell us, what are you doing? What are you charging? What does this look like? Are you in person, online? We want to know, because we want to know if it's working. So this model of like $25 for an hour of your time, that's actually really sustainable model for parents that can't afford the more intense tutoring that maybe you do offer. So I'm not saying that this is not going to work for you. I'm saying it's just has some challenges, right? So here's some questions that every tutor should answer before starting this. And really, they apply to your own tutoring business. These are just questions that you should answer anyway. How long are you going to offer these sessions? How how often are you going to offer these sessions? Are these sessions in person, or are they online like this? Okay. What ages will attend? Listen, I do not think that you should say this is open to ages 6 to 14, or open to ages 8 to 16, or open to ages 10 to 18. That's a terrible idea. There is too much of an age difference, and the older kids are always going to bring something in that you don't want those younger kids to hear, and the older kids really don't want to show up with the younger kids. So narrow that. Maybe have a 2-year gap, or say this is perfect for a first or second grader. This is perfect for a high school student. This is perfect for a junior high student. Then you've kind of narrowed that. And you're not going to have so much of a differentiation in what they're bringing to their homework club. And the age difference, I think, it's a big deal. So that's my personal opinion. You can take that or leave it. And then the other question is, how many students can you effectively support? Again, going back to that model of, oh yeah, anybody can come, and you've got 30 kids there, and you're like the daycare provider for 30 kids. I just don't think that that's a great thing. And if you were going to do that, then I think maybe you need to hire some help. Okay. So let's have some space considerations. If you're going in person, you have to think about the space that you're going to host these kids in. Do you have enough tables and chairs? Is it a quiet work area? Do you have internet access for anything? Listen, nobody thinks about the bathroom, but these are kids. And you're an adult, and you're going to need one too. How close is the restroom to where the kids are working? And are they going to conveniently get lost on the way there and way back? And then there's no results, right? And what about parking for yourself and for your families? Is there enough parking to really say that, hey, I've got this great thing. I've got parking available for you. Do you have a waiting space for your parents, or are they going to have to leave? These are some things to kind of consider for in person. Now, there's going to be some timing timing challenges if you're in person, because what if parents arrive early? What if parents are late? Who is supervising the students while you're trying to set things up and clean things up? And what are your policies going to be? That goes for everything. Like, how are you handling this? If I'm in an online session and I've got a student in the waiting room, I don't bring them in until it's their turn. They can sit there for a half hour if they're early. I don't have to worry about entertaining them. They're going to do whatever. Okay, now I said online, so here's some online considerations. How many students can ask questions at the same time? If you're in person, they just raise their hand and they wait. But if you're in a digital meeting, are they all talking at once? How are they going to ask their questions? Are they going to type it in? If you have a first or a second grader, they can't type their question in. Their parents might be able to. Will the students stay muted until they're needed? And how many screens can you actually monitor at one time? I think these are logical questions to ask. They're challenges, but they're not things that can't be overcome because, again, I think this is a good idea. Okay. Now, we need to consider what students need for homework club success. Okay. So whether this is they're popping in, it's a membership or it's a club, I'm just going to call them all a homework club. What do they need to be able to do? Homework supports best when the students come prepared, right? This homework support that you're providing is best when they show up. So I think you need to ask the parent if their child can work independently for short periods of time, because if it's a group, they have to be able to work independently. Do they know how to ask for help? Are you going to have them change a cup on their table? Are you going to have like a stop sign, where it's red, yellow, green? Green is I'm good. Yellow, I'm getting a little confused. And red, you better come and help me now. Or are they going to sit there and raise their hand? Like, how are they asking for help? You don't want them all coming up and tapping you on the shoulder. No, we don't want that. We need to find out, can they be responsible for bringing the necessary materials? Because you certainly don't want them to show up without the tools that they need to get the homework done in the first place, because that defeats the whole purpose, right? And do they have some idea of being organized? So do they have those organizational skills that it takes to get the items from the classroom to their book bag to you? That's a lot of steps for some kids. And students who might need more support are students who are dyslexic, they have ADHD, they're on the autism scale. They're going to need a little bit more support. And can they handle this in a group setting? Okay. And if you want to offer this support, is there a way to communicate with the homeroom teacher to say, hey, could you send me a message? I'm working with so and so tonight. A lot of homeroom teachers don't want to take that on as another job, unfortunately. But I think this is a great way to support those kids. Those kids that need extra time with reading, with dyslexia. You're going to sit down, you're going to teach them new words and help them read the information. Maybe you read it for them. Maybe you teach them how to read using the computer where they've got their passages on the screen and you have some support there that can read that to them while you're helping another student. That's great. Students with ADHD need a quieter setting. Maybe you're only meeting with 3 kids. Maybe everybody's whispering. Maybe they're all working in a study carrel, so there's less distractions. Students who are reading below grade level would really, really benefit from this. And students who really struggle with their executive functioning, just getting started and getting finished, I think this is a definite positive thing. So I have given you a lot of things to think about, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, but I'm going to give you something else to consider as well. And I really want you to consider what parents want for the outcome of this, what the parent expectations. I think the parents are going to expect that the kid is going to get the homework completed, that the missing assignments are going to be identified. So knowing how to get into the child's online portal could be important if they've got a Google Classroom. And, they have to know how to get into their email on your computer to check it, right? I also think that parents expect you to teach their child how to be organized. So you can offer this as organizational support. So maybe instead of a homework time, it's an organizational time where you're going to teach those skills that the kids need to be successful. And then if you got time, then you can work on anything that they brought. And I also think that parents expect you to teach their child better study habits and better communication with their teachers. Okay. And they expect communication from you, and you need to be reporting back to them. So they might be asking, will my child finish all of their homework? What happens if they don't? how much help can you provide, and can you help with all the subjects? And so setting expectations is really important from the parent perspective, but also for you to say, this is what I can provide. Okay. So here's some real life scenarios. Okay. You could offer this in-person homework club. And you could say, I only have 4 slots. And so now let's imagine this as you've got 4 kids and they've all arrived. And one is working on spelling, one is working on math, one's reading a chapter for science, and another one is writing a paragraph. As the tutor is circulating and answering questions and checking for understanding, you're also encouraging independence. But here's where the challenge comes. You're working with different subjects, with different needs, with varying work speeds. And sometimes even 4 kids could be too much for you to work with. So if you charge at a high enough rate, maybe you can hire somebody to help you with that. And so let's say you're going to charge these 4 students $25 for the hour, whether they show up or not. Okay. And I think you need to stick with that. Then you're making $100 and maybe you're going to keep 60 of it and pay your helper 40. So there's 2 of you in the room. Okay. So you're maybe able to answer more of the technical questions and they're able to just kind of keep the pacing going for each child. Now, if you did an online homework club, you might have those same 4 students that have joined. Okay, so the students join the video call. You have everybody check in quickly. You say, I want all of you to start your work, and then you use breakout rooms. So you're going to put everybody in their own breakout room, and then you're going to join the room to ask questions. I still think having a second person there who's also jumping into the rooms to make sure that questions are being answered, that's really the only effective way I can see that you could really do this. But again, you can come up with your own thing. Okay. So the challenge is monitoring engagement. There's always technology issues and keeping students focused. But the benefits are nobody has to travel. It's flexible and you can serve students in different locations. Okay. So I love this homework club idea. I think it encourages tutors to try something new and it may become the perfect service for certain students and certain families. So if you want to serve everybody and you're just like, oh, I want to give back to my community and this is how I want to do it, do it. Okay. It will be for some tutors. It's not for me, but it could be for you. I continue to focus heavily on my targeted reading, writing, and spelling instruction because those are the foundations that support success in all subjects. And when students become stronger readers and writers, homework often becomes less stressful and much more manageable. And my families have really bought into that. But every tutoring business is different, and homework clubs may be exactly what some tutors and some students need for success. So if you have offered a homework club, what or if you were to offer a homework club, what would it look like? Would it be online? Would it be in person? Is it going to be structured or is it going to be flexible? And most importantly, would it meet the needs of your students and your families? I think that's so important. And I just want to thank you for hopping on this conversation. I hope that you'll leave your comments. Let me know what you've tried, what works, what you know doesn't work, whether you'd even be interested in trying this. I am not, but I'm just throwing that out for discussion. And I hope that this really gets you thinking about what your business looks like and how you are supporting your students. And if there's a need in your community, why not try it? If this is something that interests you, give it a try. You could become the expert in the homework hubs. I think that that would be an absolutely fantastic thing. I am going to be leaving in the description the links to the courses that I offer. I have courses for homeschool families that have problems with lesson planning. I've got a course for every parent. If you've got a brand new reader and you're just getting started, I've got that course for you. And then for tutors, I've got 2 options for support with me. A beginning course that you take self-paced where you kind of figure out what is it that I need to do to set up my successful tutoring business. And then I can also pop you into a hub of information that you have 6 months of access to that has a bunch of trainings on a variety of topics, everything from how do I use Tutorbird to how do I use YouTube and email services and how do I bill my families effectively and lots of online resources for you. And you have 6 months of access. And with both of them, you get access to me as well. All right, got to wrap it up because I have things to do. Thanks for joining me tonight. Make it a great day. And as usual, keep the learning going.